GearNetwork.com.
The following is a presentation of the Gear Radio Network.
Hey, this is April Hunter, and you are listening to the All Bets Are Off podcast with Robby Vegas.
What's up, rock soldiers? This is the rockstar Robby Vegas with another brand new episode of the All Bets Are Off podcast. And today, a blast from my childhood. We got Henry Godwinn on the show, former two-time WWE Tag Team Champion, was there for the New Generation, moving into the Attitude Era, and just an all-around awesome worker. And I'm super pumped to be talking to him today, so we're going to talk a lot about his WWE career and how he got started, being in WCW at first. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, and I know that my diehard wrestling fans are also looking forward to it, so thank you guys for tuning in once again. And if you're not a wrestling fan, it's still a great interview for you to enjoy, so check it out. And, of course, please make sure you're following us on social media across the board at ABAO Pod. That's Twitter, that's Instagram, that's Facebook, ABAO Pod. Give us a like, give us a follow, do what you got to do on those. And we're very interactive, so interact with us, and we will see you guys on those social media apps. And let's not waste any more time and get Henry on the phone.
Hey, it's Misty and Liz with Talking Literature.
We're sisters who don't know shit about literature, but we love to hang out and talk about the books we've read.
You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Talking Literature and on Twitter at Talk Literature.
And look for us wherever you listen to podcasts.
Alright, listeners, so I am sitting here currently with Henry Godwinn, and man, I really appreciate it. What a blast from my past, just being able to sit here and have this conversation with you, so thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for getting a hold to me.
When I saw that you were, on social media, I was like, this is the guy for my podcast right here. Like, immediately. That was my first thought.
Well, good. I'm glad you thought of me. I like doing them. I like telling old stories.
Well, let's start off then, because I actually want to know, how did you break into the professional wrestling business to begin with?
Oh, God, I liked it since I was 4 or 5 years old, and I wrestled in high school, placed 10th in the state of Virginia my junior year, but I always liked wrestling. I tried to get into it when I was about 19 or 20 with Sandy Scott. He was a promoter in Virginia, and that didn't work out, so I was working in Princeton, West Virginia at the hospital and met gorgeous George South, an Italian stallion, and that's who trained me. And, I worked for them for a couple of years doing independent shows, running schools, a lot of schools. We did Say No to Drugs thing with all the schools in West Virginia, so it was a good thing. But then they started taking me to be an extra in WCW. So I did that for about a year, and then I got a chance to work Eric Watts. And I was just going by mean Mark Canterbury down there, but I was the first one to work Eric, I think, at TV at Center Stage in Atlanta. And Dusty liked it, and Cowboy Bill Watts liked it. So we had a hell of a little match. But, I just went that day, rode with George and Stout to TV, and all I had was my gear and what I had on. So Dusty came up to me after the match, after the show, the TV taping, and said, can you go on the road, work Eric? And I said, sure. When? He said, now. So I like this shit, but I was scared to death. So Arn Anderson, I rode with him a couple nights, and he gave me some Zubas, a couple shirts, and Stallion was giving me clothes to take with me because I left from Atlanta going to Alabama.
Wow.
And then I ended up that week. in the car with Harley Race driving. I always like to tell this story. Hercules Hernandez in the front seat, me and Barbarian in the back seat.
Wow.
So here I am, been in the business 3.5 years, scared shitless. Harley Race, I'm sitting behind him, he's driving. There's a cooler of beer in the back. So he let me know real quick what my job was. He says, when you hear this can crunch, I want to hear it. And I want another one. So he's driving. I'm the bartender. So that's how I got in it.
That's amazing. And, you know, it's funny that you mentioned Barbarian because the first time that I got to work with a name in the business was against Barbarian. And I was so intimidated by him. So I can imagine your first, like, you know, shot of being on the road with these guys, sitting with him in a car had to be like, oh my God, he's just such a massive, intimidating man. Wait,
it gets better. That's the same night. We go out drinking at a bar when we get to the hotel. So we get pretty tore up. Me and Barbie is rooming together, and he likes his Copenhagen. So this is the first night we were rooming together. First night we met. And we go to sleep, wake up the next morning. I look over, and I see this big red stain on his pillow. I'm like, oh, my God, something's happened to him. And it was the Copenhagen that dripped out on the pillow. He left his dip in. I thought he was dead.
Oh, my God.
He's a great guy. I went home and stayed with him in Charlotte with him and his wife. And great people. Spent the weekend at his house. That was in WCW.
Okay. Now, you know, you make it to WCW, and now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but this is where you first teamed with who would later become Phineas in WWE, right? Where you guys were a tag team in WCW as well?
Right.
How did that come about then with you guys starting a team in WCW? Did you already know each other on the independent scene?
No, and I was just talking to Tex last night about this because he's getting inducted into the Tampa Hall of Fame.
Oh, wow.
And the Wrestlers Association.
Mm-hmm.
And Bob Cook is over that. Him and the Shane twins are doing it. Phineas and the Shane twins.
Oh, wow.
It's coming up this month, the 28th. But when I got approached from Cowboy, Bill Watts, and Dusty, Bob Cook was supposed to be my partner.
Okay.
He had to have research. And then they brought Tex Dennis up. And me and him met that night in Gainesville, Georgia. And we've been buddies, best friends since then. We've never had a crossword with each other.
That's awesome. And, you know, it's cool, too, because, like, you guys had such a cool chemistry. But when you first made the jump to WWE, you made the jump as a singles competitor.
Yeah.
So how did that how did that happen where, you know, you made the jump before him? Because eventually he does come and catch up with you, but at first it was just you.
He had some stuff he had to work out. And Harley Race and Kevin Nash had spoke up for me, so I went on. And then I kept working to try to get him up there and kept asking. And then he come and did a dark match. And then soon after that, we were together. And everything was right then.
Awesome.
We picked up right where we thought.
That's cool. Now, one of my earliest memories of you in WWE was the Hog Pen match with Triple H. And that was a pretty big angle,
yeah.
and that was a pretty big deal. And for me, who was, you know, whatever, 8 years old, 9 years old, I remember thinking, like, this is amazing, and I can't wait to see this asshole Triple H get thrown in pig shit. And I was so, like, pumped for it. Like, how did that feel for you going through something like that? Whose idea was it to do that type of match?
It seemed like Vince had mentioned it, but the scary thing was, well, we talked, you know, about, I'm not sure who brought it up, but I know Vince loved the idea, and I did too, because we were going to have live hogs, we were going to have a pig pen. The object was to get your opponent in there.
Yeah.
So, but it was a hell of a match. It was a good time. I think it was the foundation for mine and Hunter's success for me. I think it catapulted us up a little bit. And because a lot of people thought it was going to be some ha-ha match, goofy country boy, but we beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
And I even give him 15 stitches that night from the gate. So I always tell him I scarred him for life. But, you know, Vince said, we come up with the idea, and he says, you guys go out and figure it out. So here's me and Hunter, you know, just starting up there. But me and him laid the match out. So I think for two new guys, we did a pretty good job. And then after the match, the ribs started, they let the pigs, Owen had put the pigs in Vince's office. They were running around. But on the way back from the ring, Vince told us both, he says, that was a hell of a match, and you guys pulled it off. That, of course, we were up for the Slammy Award that year, too.
Right. And did you already know Hunter from your time in WCW?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because me, him, and Tex, somebody else got let go at the same time.
Oh, okay.
So me and Hunter went up. Yeah.
No, I've always wanted to know this. Maybe I don't want to know, but I'm going to ask it anyway. The slop buckets. What was in those?
Oh, here we go. Okay. I thought you were going to ask about a specific slop bucket that Sonny got. But we'll touch on that later.
Yeah, I was getting there too.
So, it was just food that I collect. I tried to use about the same stuff, the same consistency.
Yeah.
But I would make it, when we got to TV or pay-per-view or something, I would make it that day and let it sit, squander a little. And, but it was just food, regular food we had at the catering, and I spiced it up a little.
Right. All right. Now, what was in the specific one for Sunny? Because you guys had a program run with her for a long time, and she got some nasty slop.
It was Skip and Zip. And we won the titles from them that night in the Garden. But, I got to TV, and Vince or Pritchard said, Sonny's getting slop tonight. I said, oh, okay, cool. So I took my bucket. We went and ate. I made the slop. It was about half full, the bucket. I went in the locker room, was getting ready to get, the gear on, and I set it down, and I said, the boys were in there. I said, now listen, Sonny's getting slop tonight. Nobody mess with the slop. So I got my gear on, and I left for a little while. When I come back, the bucket was almost full. So I found out who the culprits were. Dirty White Boy, Doc Pritchard, Dr. Tom Pritchard, Razor Ramon, and 1-2-3 Kid, and a couple other people.
Okay.
That's what I heard.
So what were they adding to it? Do you know, or were you just like, all right, it's going on her head?
Yeah, I just heard it was all kinds of different bodily functions.
Oh my God! All right.
The boys that were dipping had snuff.
Yeah.
They were spitting and somebody took it in the bathroom and then come back out with it. So.
Oh my God! And she got the slop.
Got it.
That was a feud. So now, obviously it's Henry and Phineas Godwinn. And that's a feud that I always like. You guys were so locked into that feud with the Body Donnas. And that was that your first title reign was from them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because weren't you going back? You were going back and forth too.
That was in Madison Square Garden. I think it was in 96 maybe, or beginning of 97.
Okay. So after that, though, you moved on to a feud with the Smoking Guns, if I remember correctly, and those were two great tag teams.
Yeah.
There was a lot of great tag teams back in those days, too, which is amazing because you don't see as many as you did back then. But the dynamic between you guys and the Smoking Guns was so interesting and different than the Body Donnas. Did you have a preference, like one over the other?
We just liked working everybody. We felt we could work with anybody, and and funny you bring it up because me and Tex were talking about it a couple of days ago about the tag teams and how fortunate we were to be able to work with like the Blackjacks, Wyndham and Bradshaw, and then the Headbangers. We loved working the Headbangers.
Yeah, they were awesome too.
Skip and Zip were fun to work, and Billy and Bart. We really had some good matches with them. Mm-hmm. Me and Billy broke each other's thumbs at different times, so. But we used to have a lot of fun, and we'd go out with them sometimes. And, God, we got some hellacious stories.
Well, when you made the jump to, being back with the tag team, do you prefer tag team wrestling as opposed to the singles stuff? Because you were killing it as a singles wrestler, too. Yeah,
but I enjoy both. But tagging, it's what I just started with in WCW. And like you said, the chemistry me and Tex have together, and just we lived together in Marietta when we were in WCW.
Oh, wow.
So we were around each other all the time. We knew what each other was thinking when we went out, clubbing or something. We took care of each other, knew what each other was going to do. And so it made the experience that much better. And then, when he came up to WWE and we got back together, it was a good feeling.
What was it like when you got into the feud with LOD? That had to be something.
Yeah, that was a little tough. But we had some good matches with him. Of course, I broke my neck during one of the matches.
Right.
And
that was a shoot. That was legit.
Yeah. Yeah, I went home. They sent me home, and, it happened in Binghamton, New York. So I had an MRI done that night. They sent me home, said, just relax, lay flat for 14 weeks, go get another MRI checkup, blah, blah, blah. So in 6.5 weeks, I was back on the road wrestling.
Wow. And
Vince had I had cracked my C7. So Vince had a guy working on me every night because I was having just fatigue. I was doing 90-pound dumbbell presses with this arm. I couldn't do 20 with this one after a while.
Oh, my God.
So they sent me home in September. I think I come home. They sent me home. But I wrestled 7 weeks like that. And our last match, I had a broken, it was getting worse, but it was against Road Dogg and Billy Gunn.
Okay.
And we were supposed to win the belts that night. And that's when they switched us to Southern Justice. So this was going to be our third tag championship.
Yeah.
But when I got home and went to the doctor in Knoxville, Tennessee, they said it was pretty bad and I need to do something. So I had spinal fusion done, C6, C7. Me and Steve, Stone Cold, had the same surgery.
Oh, wow.
So,
okay.
Yeah, when he had the incident with Owen, pile driver. So, that's what happened there.
Hey everybody, this is Lauren Marie Taylor, creator and host of the Not the Final Girl podcast. Okay, so every horror fan remembers the final girl, right? The one who can outrun and outsmart the Jasons, the Michaels, the Chuckies. I think you get it. But what about the girls and, the guys who met with an untimely end? Those of us who were tortured and tripped, dragged and killed. Don't we deserve some props? As Vicky in Friday the 13th Part 2 and Sheila in Girls Night Out, I know what a drag it is to succumb to those masked and wardrobe-challenged killers, to not be the final girl. On my new podcast, I'll be chatting with other women of horror who share the same fate. Special guests include those final girls as well as the writers and directors who created our characters, only to give us an early expiration date. And if they play nice, we'll let some of those crazed killers of horror tell their side of the story. So join me, Lauren Marie Taylor, on the Not the Final Girl podcast. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you get the alerts when the episodes drop. Thanks for listening. Keep your doors locked and stay out of the woods.
Kind of staying on that for a quick second, you mentioned that you had made the switch from the Godwinns to Southern Justice. Was that an idea that you and Dennis had, or was that given to you?
We didn't want to switch. There was so much more stuff we had planned as the Godwinns. That was dumbass Vince Russo that did that.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, was that because...
he's a city boy. He doesn't realize that country boys actually do wear overalls, suspenders all the time. That's the way we roll. But you couldn't get that through his head. So, but we did like the Southern Justice. I mean, we liked having a job, and we wanted to do something we wanted to do. So that's why I come up with the name Southern Justice.
Oh, okay. And
so that was going to be good too. We had Jeff Jarrett manage us. Then we had Colonel Parker.
Yes.
So it was going to do good.
Well, you guys always had like cool managers when you did have them, because I remember you working with Hillbilly Jim for a little while, and I thought that was really cool, and he was such a legend.
Yeah. Hillbilly was awesome. Great time with him.
Was that somebody that you maybe requested, or was it just a natural fit, so it just happened?
All office set that up because, see, he was a special guest referee for the hog pen match.
Gotcha.
So after that's when they wanted to bring Phineas in. So that's when they put Hillbilly with us. And it was a good fit. We had good chemistry with him. You know, we rode together on the road. So it was a good time with Hillbilly. I love to see him, talk to him here again soon, but we'll see what happens.
That's so cool, man. Now,
one other thing. When we were Southern Justice and we were with Jeff Jarrett, my buddy Howard Finkel, we shaved his head on Monday Night Raw. And rest in peace, Howard.
Yeah.
Loved Howard. But he said, Mark, I'm glad you guys did that. This was about 10 years ago I seen him.
yeah.
He said, Mark, I'm glad you guys did that. I love it. I never grew my hair back.
That's fantastic. Now, you mentioned a couple times
Yeah.
you dropped the name Owen Hart, and I wanted to ask you if you have a favorite rib that Owen Hart pulled that you could recall.
Shit. Probably 100, but the ones he did to us were like, we were wrestling these little arenas in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
One night, we were tagging against him and Davey.
Okay.
Loved both. And one night, just little dingy shows, but it was fun. So one night he come out. We were in the ring, and they come out. Well, we were out there a couple minutes. Owen never said nothing. Davey started, and then he tagged Owen in. Owen come in, locked up with tags, spit water in his face, and then started healing on it. So it was funny. And one night he come out and had a banana in his trunk. So, I mean, that's just typical Owen. I remember one night we were at the old Boston Gardens. I got to wrestle there one time before they got rid of it. But the people working there, Owen had a can of shaving cream. And every time somebody that worked there walked by, he would give them a strap down the back. And in like 30 minutes, you've seen everybody who worked there had the shaving cream strap down their back. But, I mean, that's just typical Owen.
That's so cool. Okay, here's another backstage thing that maybe not everybody knows about. Tell me about the Bone Street Crew.
Oh, man. We used to play dominoes, on downtime at TVs, or you go to a house show and you get there 3 or 4 hours early just to hang out, go to the gym, come back, we play some dominoes. Well, the dominoes are called bones. So we all had went out one night. Me, Taker, Yoko, I think Papa Rikishi. Tex wasn't up there yet, and he had to get initiated into the BSK when he got there. And I was his representative, so I knew he was going to fit right in. But we went in this bar one night, and Yoko just yelled, BSK in the house. No, he said, Bone Street Crew in the house, bitches. That's what he said. And his slang. So it stuck. And, I mean, hell, we all got tattoos now. I just got another one on my BSK tattoo on my back. And we were just a group that hung out, and we all got along good. We all pretty much just chilled. But we were a group of guys that liked what we did, and we liked being together, and we helped each other out with our, little promos, gimmicks, whatever. We always, everybody was good about that. We just liked hanging out with each other. Well, I'd love to go out to California and stay at Yoko's house. Rikishi would come over. Then when Tex come up, me and him would go out there and stay and eat the Samoan food. Man, it was just a blast.
That's excellent.
Blast.
That had to be really cool for you then to come back at Survivor Series to be a part of the Undertaker's retirement ceremony then.
Yeah, that was awesome. I was actually at my son's house in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, and Tex called and said the office is trying to get a hold of me. So I told him where I was, and Bruce Pritchard calls and says, "Hey, Mark, how you doing?" And I said, "Good, Bruce, how you?" And a little small talk for a second. He goes, "Well, in a couple of weeks, Undertaker's doing his farewell, and he wants you there." I said, "Well, shit, I'll be there." He said, "We're going to have a BSK reunion, and it's going to be his farewell." So we all went down. The first night, we were just chilling. We had to get tested, the COVID test, when we got there.
Right.
Everybody passed.
Right.
Then we went to the bar about 839, somewhere around there. Me, Phineas, Rikishi, Savio, and Godfather. We went up and hung out in one of the rooms and started our little party. And then we went down to the bar because Taker was coming over. And he had something to do that evening. He said when he got done, he was coming. It was going to be, the BSK reunion would start. So he showed up. Damn sure enough, it started. At the end of the night, it was the manager of the bar said it was about 100 beers down and 4 bottles of Jack Daniels.
Oh my God!
So and the thing is, we hadn't been together in 20 years. We've been together, but not everybody at one time.
Mm-hmm.
So here we have, and even Booker T even partied about an hour with us. Flair come over for about 30 minutes. And I guess they seen what the debacle was going to be like. So everybody sort of scooted except us. Timmy White partied all night with us.
Did he really?
Timmy White stayed right there, trooper. So it was about 2 o'clock. All of a sudden, Timmy just timber, flat back. So we pick him up. Texas falling all over the place. I'm no better. But there is a video of all this. It's never been seen.
Oh, okay.
But, so it ended up Undertaker and Godfather put me and Phineas to bed, and I don't remember. So we damn sure made it up for 20 years in one night.
Yeah, right.
It was just great being there. To be there for Taker's last thing, for us, that was like being inducted into the Hall of Fame. Well, we got to go down there for Taker's thing. So it was a great night seeing everybody, and I love those guys, man. Like I said in that interview, I'd take a bullet for any of them.
That's so cool, too. And to see you guys all come out and actually be there on TV for that was one of the coolest moments, I think, of the whole thing. And unexpected, too. It was so, they say kayfabe is dead, but I had no idea that was happening, so apparently it's not.
Yeah. And it was wrong. I mean, it was wrong. Nobody said to do this or do that. We just all, we all went down there. I don't know if you've seen it or you noticed. I was the only one that slid into the ring.
Yeah.
And they cut away from it. But I slid into the ring. And I said, Phineas, you want to slide in? He said, hell no. But I did it. But it was fun being there with Flair and Big Show and Shawn and Mick Foley. So we had a good time with everybody.
Back in your original run, I know a lot of people have different opinions on Shawn Michaels from back then, but did you always get along with Shawn?
Always got along with Shawn. Matter of fact, we were on the road in Texas, and Shawn said, why don't you guys come stay at my house?
Oh, really?
So we went and spent the weekend with Shawn. And damn, what a nice place. We got up, had breakfast, went up, worked out in his gym. It was nice. It was a good time.
No, if I remember this correctly, I could be wrong on this, but you had another contract with WWE in like 2006, right, where you were working with them with Deep South.
Yeah.
So how did that come about? Was it just like, were you there to help out like the new talent that was coming up through developmental, or what was that?
No, actually, I went to a house show. Mm-hmm. No, it was a TV taping, and Stephanie was there,
mm-hmm.
and that's when her and Hunter, were getting together and starting to run things. And she goes, are you here just to watch? Or are you looking for a job? She grinned at me. I always got along with Stephanie.
Yeah.
Loved the whole family. When I made my vignettes in Tennessee, Shane's the one that flew down and did all my Henry Godwinn videos.
Oh, that's awesome.
So great family, had a good time. But Vince, I talked to Vince that night, and he says, man, I'd like to have that $100,000 smile back up here. So I was like, shit. So I signed a contract that night, and but I wasn't in a good place. I'd lost my son and my dad, and I broke my neck, and
mm-hmm.
just a lot of shit going on. But I tried it. It didn't work, and
yeah,
I'm fine with that.
So now you're still doing appearances and things like that on the indie scene, correct?
Yeah.
So do you have anything coming up?
I did a couple things. I did some things up in IWC.
Oh, yeah.
Elizabeth, PA.
Yep.
Good company. Good people. Matter of fact, the little boy me and him tagged together, he supposedly just signed with WWE, Cole Carter.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Good-looking kid. Looks like one of the Von Erichs. That's what they call him.
Yeah, I know. I know who you're talking about. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, good kid. He texted me the other day, so me and him keep in touch.
Mm-hmm. That's excellent.
Good luck to him.
Do you have anything coming up in the future that you know of right now that you could plug for everybody?
Not really. Not till August. I'd have to check. It's way off.
Okay. So before I let you go today, first of all, again, thank you for doing this because this was awesome for me and I love hearing the stories. I want you to just plug your social media so that anybody who doesn't already follow you can start following you, and when you do have appearances coming up, they could show up and meet you and check you out and all that stuff. And just get that out there for everybody.
Well, I'm on Instagram, Henry Godwinn. Facebook is Mark and Tracy Canterbury.
Okay.
So I'm on both of them. And I may have some, not for sure, but talking to Rikishi, but we may have something coming up soon. So I'll reach out to you if I hear something too.
Yes, absolutely. And I got to tell you, as somebody who's been an indie wrestler for the last 10 years, the new generation moving into the Attitude Era, which was when you were there, was the thing that inspired me to start doing this. So thank you for everything and for paving the way for me.
Well, good, man. Yeah, I was glad to be a part of it too. It was a good time, and I was glad I got in the business with the guys that I did. You know, from starting from the beginning to the end, just like Dusty. Dusty was like a dad and a mentor, and you know, we used to go to Dustin's house and cook out. And Dusty would come over, and he's like sitting there in the damn learning tree.
Right,
and,
right.
You know, we used to do that with Steve when we lived in Marietta. Steve, Stone Cold would say, "Hey, y'all come down, we'll cook out, drink some beer." Damn if we did. So we had good times, and you know, Dirty Dick Murdoch, got to hang out with him and Dusty. Rode with Dirty Dick Slater.
That's cool.
So it was a plethora of everybody. We enjoyed. We're very old school.
Yeah.
So, I'll never get into the new stuff.
Well, I gotta say,
like but it's just different in my era.
I still go back and watch, you know, your era. You know, that's my favorite time. And as much as, you know, I still watch whatever's out there right now to keep up with what's happening in the scene, since I'm in the scene, my favorite thing to do is to go back and watch from 95 to 98, 99. Like, that's my favorite, you know, of all time. And that's when you were there in the Body Donnas and Sean and Diesel and Razor. And that was just such a magical time.
I mean, when I first started up there, I lucked in and got in on the football with Bam Bam and Lawrence Taylor. Mm-hmm. I was on Bam Bam's team. I lucked in and got drunk with McMichaels after the show that night, and they had to cut us off, which is probably a good thing, and saying keeping prayers for him. Yeah. His family. So, but it was just, man, what an era.
Absolutely.
A couple matches that you need to check out is the first time me and Undertaker was on, I think, Monday Night Raw. And then me and Kevin's match, I liked. And me and Phineas against Big Van Vader and Mick Foley. Need to pull that match up.
Absolutely. And, of course, all available on the WWE Network, so or Peacock, depending on where you live.
Right. Yeah.
Man, and I believe you were up for a Slammy at one time for Smelliest.
Yeah. Yeah, my gear used to stand up by itself sometimes.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing these stories and showing me the memorabilia, too. I love it. I have such an appreciation for it. And now I feel like hearing your stories, I'm the one under the learning tree, so I appreciate that.
Well, we'll have to do it again, man.
100%. I would love to have you back on the show to just tell stories about absolutely anybody and everybody.
Yeah. Maybe we get Phineas on here. You talk about a time and a half.
Oh, that would be excellent. I actually reached out to him. I haven't heard back yet, but I would love to have you both on at the same time.
Well, we'll set it up sometime, and I'll get it hooked up with him, and we'll do it.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much.
You will hear a lot of stuff.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing from Naked Midian then. How about that?
Yeah.
Well, thank you again, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it, buddy. Keep in touch.
I will. I absolutely will. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too. God bless.
Don't go messing with a country boy, a country boy, a country boy. Don't go messing with a country boy. Don't mess
Rock Soldiers. Once again, that was Henry Godwinn, and we are going to have him back on the show, and we are going to have Phineas Godwinn join him, Dennis Knight, and we're going to just kind of shoot the shit and let them tell some stories about backstage things that were happening in WWE in 95, 96, 97, 98, that whole era. And I'm really going to be looking forward to that until we do it. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and make sure you're following him on Instagram. And of course, always check out ABAO Pod on all social media platforms, and subscribe to the show wherever you listen to your podcast. It helps us show up in searches, and we do appreciate it. So check us out, ABAO Pod, subscribe, leave a review on Apple, and we will catch you guys next week.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network.